Good morning, this is Steve Merritt. I'm at the Ulay mine reclamation site near Lake City, Colorado. We've got activities going on Saturday, June 8th. Wanted to give an overview shot of the site from the far side of the river, the south side of the river, as we're continuing to work through the waste dump and the tailings impoundment. And I wanted to specifically highlight this drainage feature that, if we are to save the cabin, basically comes and exits at this location in the bedrock here, which is approximately 30 feet above the base of the river below. So look, panning up towards the top, there is the cribbing structure that holds back the tailings impoundment in that little notch. It appears to be about 8 to 10 feet high. There is a drainage pipe to the west of that, and as you come up the slope, you can begin to see impacted tailings areas, and then this flume structure. The pin flags on either side with the caution tape and the orange tape shown in this image here are about a 30-foot span and really would be sort of the notch into the two lobes of a tailings impoundment on either, or excuse me, of the waste repository on either side. Panning further up, you can see the cabin and the area marked out with caution tape on either side. Hopefully my camera will focus here. And that goes up to the road, the haul road that leads to the upper bench. I'll zoom back out here so it's not quite so wobbly. So again, about a 30-foot area. You can see the size relative to the larger of the two dozers as it goes by the cabin area. It appears to be sort of a trapezoidal shape, and what I could envision is if you set your 2.5 to 1 slope from the bottom of this notch, added your drain rock, let that be your outlet for all the drain rock in the tailings impoundment, then you'd have a good area where material could flush out of that impoundment, and then also a great place to drain off the structures that'll catch sheet flow off of the middle of the repository on what I'll call the beltway. But obviously the repository where the dozer's pushing dirt right now is going to head back up to the left, which is to the west, and meet this waste dump slope over here. Once we get all the other ore off of that structure, we'll reinforce that with our slopes. I'm going to take a look now over at the area we've dug into to illustrate the bench structure that we had discussed via email yesterday. You can see in this image the lower area in front is sitting on top of native soil, which appears to be what the miners constructed their berms out of, and then you can see the tails that were laid in after that in the impoundment. That gets especially deep on the other side of the berm where we've dug down maybe 10 to 15 feet. So there's a significant amount of volume in there that we'll continue to excavate out. Frank has stockpiled some of that material in a pile beyond where you can see the excavator sat to construct this bench. But I believe that the bench will extend. You can see pretty clearly where the erosional effects have taken tailings out of the upper area above that native soil and started to erode those, and then it gets pretty pronounced, that darker color as well. And that runs all the way across this area. And really the only place where you don't see that is in that notch where this cribbing structure is. So I'm hopeful that that's our low point, and if that's the case, that'll be a good spot for us to outlet all of our drain rock underneath the material that we're placing back in the impoundment. And it's also a good place, since the slope starts further down, it's also a good place to tie in the cabin and also a drain feature coming between those two lobes of the impoundment, or excuse me, of the repository. What else to say? They're starting to clear and grub on the slope up here, outside of where we've identified around the cabin that we'd like to save those 2 pine trees, and are also stockpiling the material that's good earth from that area for later use. And then I should talk about the drain box when I've got a photo of it from here. I looked at that this morning. That drain box sits inside that caution taped area, and it drops down a good 10 feet or so. So what we're planning on doing is, when the archaeologist is back out here next week, we will excavate around that area with machinery and then hand dig it, and then try and attempt to lift it out in piece, or in one piece, to transport to the other part of the site. And while the archaeologist is out here, sorry for the aggressive zoom and sweeping there, the archaeologist will document these structures here as well, because we figure we'll be down to that area by sometime next week. That's basically the video from the far side of the creek. That hopefully will help with the discussions that we have on Monday or Tuesday of next week. And hopefully we'll be able to include Joelle in that discussion, because she's going to be the one building this stuff. So that's all from here. Thanks.